Well, there you have it. The new. I used it once before. You might have seen that or heard that before, but that's intro I worked out with the Blunt Force Band. They're really awesome. They've been killing it here at Horn Tide, doing some recording, and don't mind the blood spatters on the screen. Bethany was over here doing some cleanup. I don't know what she was. Asked for a bunch of dirty rags and some solvent, and she was cleaning something in the sink, but I haven't looked and seen what she did. But she left in a big hurry. You know how they are. So anyway, good to good to see you guys. Feeling kind of silly here on a Sunday. I had a good weekend, really, to be honest with you. I had the privilege of going to the movies yesterday with my son, which was nice, and we went and saw the brand new um, Spinal Tap, which was really funny. If you like the first one, like I did, and my son and we've seen that movie probably. I've seen it at least 100 times. I've watched it that many times, and I just love it. And everybody's back. I mean, if you like the first one, you love the second one. If you haven't liked the first one, then you're probably not going to like it again because they pretty much do the same thing, but it's for a reunion concert. And I had somebody in the chat, one of the videos I recently did, and he said, "Please, Pete, please do a review of it." So I'm hoping that he or she is watching right now. And if you are, please put something in the comments so I know you saw this because I want to make sure I did what you asked. You made a special request, and I dig it. And I'm like I said, love Spinal Tap. So I'm going to do a separate live if this person doesn't come forth and say, "Yeah, I got you, Pete. I heard it or I saw it." So yeah, I cannot remember the screen name of the person, but yeah, it was a cool special request. But yes, Catherine, the Spinal Tap movie is so funny. I remember the first time I ever watched it. My roommate, who was just notorious for being a jackass when it came to room or playing pranks on people and stuff, and he was usually pretty easy with me. But hello, Teresa. And so he was telling me, "Oh, you got to watch this new documentary." And I thought it was real. I mean, he told me it was real and it was about a metal band. So I'm like, yeah, all right. I said, well, what band is it? And he says, I don't know. I don't remember. And so I sat down and then I saw Rob Reiner on the screen and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Rob Reiner. And he's like, who? And I'm like, what do you mean who? That's Rob Reiner from All in the Family, like that dude. And then of course, just one after that, I saw Mike McKean and just died because I love him as Lenny on Laverne and Shirley was so good. Um, but Catherine S. says, and welcome Catherine S. coming forth from the desert to join us today. Catherine, it's so nice to see you again. Donna's been keeping everything cool, though. I got to tell you that she is now the captain of the Mayhem squad, but I'm sure you're going to be second in command with her, keeping the trash out of the chat room. So very, very good to see you, and glad that you're back, at least for a little bit, using that Starlink, which that's super cool. But she says she thought it was real until the third time she watched it. All right, I don't feel so bad. I bought it for like a minute or however long it took Rob Reiner to show up, which was right at the beginning. I know. So anyway, that movie's just so funny. But yeah, the new one is good, and we laughed. The theater was empty, but we did go at like 4 o'clock, so not like a prime movie time. But wanted to keep it calm for me coming in there with the wheelchair and all that, and so no, it was a nice day. Well, I'll tell you, the coffee just tastes better in a Murder Metal Mayhem travel. What is this called, honey? A tumbler? No,
No, it's travel cup.
Travel mug.
Travel mug, yeah.
See, thankfully, I got my wife here in one of those understudy, like half dome things, you see in the theater. She's sitting in one of those, feeding me some answers. But no, these new mugs are awesome, honestly. It's a travel mug, I think they call it, but really solid, like not flimsy in the least. Keeps coffee hot for, I had it several hours later and it's still warm, which is amazing. But I use this thing all the time and I really like it. But you could get one if you wanted to get one there in that merch store. But thank you, Catherine S., for coming back to see us. And Margaret says she forgets that it's 4 p.m. Central. Yeah, that's where I am, is Central. So if I did it for any other time zone, I'd be all screwed up. You should see AR and me when we do these. He's like texting me. He's like, okay, it's, whatever time, 7 p.m. your time, 5 p.m. my time, right? I'm like, yes, yeah, you're 2 hours behind me out there in Vegas. So it's always funny because I used to be like a disaster with the time zones. The guys always made fun of me because, I mean, to my defense though, I mean, I was talking to bands from Australia, and that's the worst one because it's like 15 hours. So you're like calling the guy like I used to call this two different people I've interviewed, maybe three, but I set them up all for the same. Like Saturday, like 4 p.m. my time would be like 8 or 9 in the morning on Sunday their time. So that used to just completely blow my mind that somebody could be like a day ahead of somebody else. And we used to joke around about having giving me the like lottery numbers, and sports scores, so I could win in the Vegas where they are, but no, nobody took me up on such an offer because it's ridiculous. But it was always funny. I had to make sure I set my watch, and I had like all these different alarms. And then one time I screwed up, and it was a time zone change that night. So it hadn't hit us yet, but it had already hit them. See, that was the thing that's screwy. So it threw the time off. So I'm sitting there waiting, and the guy doesn't show up, and I'm messaging him. And then finally, he answers, and he's like, "It's like 2 hours from now." And I'm like, "What?" And so our time went back. Theirs goes forward. So it's like, yeah, it was a train wreck. So luckily, he's a friend, and he laughed at me and went back and ate his the stuff that the Australians love to eat, the sandwiches. What's that, Men at Work?
Vegemite.
Vegemite. Thank you, Jenny. See, beautiful wife here. Well, it's that necrotizing fasciitis brain of mine. I do have those things that happen to me. And she knows. She knows that. But what do you guys think of my Italian ice shirt? You liking that? The colors of Italy and all. So, and there's even the horn. Let me get away here. The Italian horn there to ward off evil things. That's what that sign is. I think I talked about this in the podcast on one of my lives one time. Somebody was tripping about this in the beginning, the 666 thing, And I'm just like, it's a joke. It's not serious. Like, I'm goofing around. I'm not some kind of Satan worshiping person. Like, whatever. If you want to do that, that's up to you. I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying that's not me. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So, but it doesn't help, that I'm wearing like Venom shirts with, crucifixes and all this stuff. But it's a heavy metal thing. It's just a heavy metal thing. But like doing the more disturbing things, freaking people out, being into horror and metal, that just kind of goes hand in hand. But it's always nice to just relax and see you guys. But yeah, the Italian ice, I made it on myself and then put it on TeePublic. It's actually in our store if you want to buy one. I actually have already sold one of these to somebody who's not, like, I didn't buy it. So somebody bought it, bought at least one shirt. And I thought it was funny. It's probably some dude in like the Bronx, like, man, I love that shirt, dude, you know. And I might have to do my Italian accent, you know. I appreciate you guys, you know, doing the Italian ice shirt, you know. But so yeah. So if you want to buy it, you buy a hat. You can put this thing on a pillow if you want to go to sleep with Italian ice. It'll just be between us, okay? So just goofing around. My beautiful wife here is gonna backhand me if I don't stop with such things. So let's see. You can buy that merch though. There's the page where you can buy the merch. I've got multiple designs. You're going to see some designs that maybe you haven't seen before. I'm gonna share the screen with you. Um, where is it? Share screen. I don't normally do these like this. Here we go. So now I got some new designs in there. I got this Coburger one, which is nice. You got the. Let's see if I could do this. Well, I'm going to wind up screwing it up, so I'll leave it the way it is. But no, this Coburger framed in Idaho shirt, which would be nice. It says Moscow City Hall over that. And then this one has sold some items. I'm not sure what the items are, but somebody's bought some Deathany stuff, so that's really cool. But the number one seller is still the Murder Metal Mayhem basic original design. That's the one that sold the most so far. But we don't get a whole bunch out of it. It's really more for just promotion. So I'm glad you guys are buying the stuff, and I enjoy making it. You know, it's fun to mess around, and it's something I've always wished I could do is art. I've never been an artist, but with some of these new tools, you can really do a lot of cool stuff, even if you're not, you know, an artist like that can paint or draw or, you know, obviously digital art is a thing, and I'm just happy that I can do it. So that's super cool. But of course, the original logo design was from my good friend Jeff Gaither, who's a very famous artist that does a lot of done a lot of metal, punk, hardcore type stuff. Done stuff for big bands like Van Halen. This stuff for basement garage bands. I've worked with him for years when I used to run heavycore and put bands through, you know, that needed artwork to him because he was giving them great pricing because we were a group, you know, so we had that advantage. It was nice. And then I had him do a couple of the early low 12 covers for me. So yeah, he's a great dude, very talented, and he did the logo. That was just Murder Metal Mayhem. All I told him was, you know, Jeff, it's got to be bold, it's got to be easy to see small, and make the letters like metal and like concrete or something cool like that, like screwed to the wall or something very metal looking, and maybe a blood spatter, but don't go crazy with the blood. And bam, that was his first. That was his first one he came back with, which just blew my mind. I loved it right at the start, and I've been using it ever since. And I got these stickers with the barbed wire that I put on them. I'm still screwed up with everything's in reverse. With the barbed wire design that I added, Jeff did the logo, but I added the barbed wire and the extra spatters, and did it. I matched it pretty good. But anyway, these are some stickers. We'll give away some at the end. I've been sending these out. So if you've got your sticker and you want to like put it on something, whether it be like the back window of your car or, you know, the school bus, you know, whatever, don't do that. But believe me, I've had some being in a metal band. Believe me, I'll tell you a story about that sometime about the stickers all over somebody's mural at a bar, like a huge like venue that we were dying to play at, and somebody that had our stickers put them all over this mural, and the guy was like tripping on me. It was pretty interesting, but nonetheless, we played there like 15 times, destroyed that place on multiple occasions. Great venue, the Canopy Club in Urbana, Illinois. Loved playing there. And highlight of playing there was opening up for Gwar, and that was badass. That was in like, I don't know, like 2007 maybe ish time, somewhere in there. It's the days we were together for 18 years, but that was a sold out. I'm not a Guar fan, but they were real nice to us. But the place was absolutely packed. I mean, they had to stop. They had to stop it at the door because it was too full. I'd never been to a show there like that, and it was crazy. And we opened and we like tore it up and played a really good set, and it was just a tremendous. I wish we would have had video there that night because that would have been amazing to look back on and maybe to release, because we did have some official bootleg stuff we released, but all that stuff's gone and it's just out there. But I don't reproduce it anymore. But good to see you guys. Got some familiar faces here. Oh, I see my mom's here. Oh, better watch my P's and Q's with my mom. And mom, hopefully you like this shirt, Italian Ice. I figured you would. It's my rap name. I'm thinking about starting a rap career, so maybe I'm going to go by Italian Ice. I don't know. So Red Wendy says she remembers Guar. Yeah, they were really good. I was surprised they could play that well with all that crap on, but man, they really could play. Really good band, and like I said, couldn't have been nicer to us. And that was when Brody, I think his name was Brock he was still alive, so he was there. So met him, met all of them. They were really really nice. Um, yeah, copywriting Destiny. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure people are probably already doing stuff with it. I don't know. According to the guy in my chat room, that apparently somebody else did, and he did, he claims, and then put it in the chat, and he may have. I don't know, but I can't look at every single chat, especially once we get going here. So, um, my mom says ice, ice, baby. Yeah, for sure. I keep saying vanilla ice, ma, for that very reason. It's hard to get that out of your head once it's there. Donna Lembo, excellent. The captain of the Mayhem squad. Great to see Catherine S. Red Wendy, voice of astrology, Karis, bringing in from the West Coast, providing some amazing data of some information for me today. Oh, what the hell did I just do? Providing some really good information for me today. Uh, some reason this, okay, see, I can exit out of it. Uh, I hit the mouse button and the screen completely changed and I couldn't see anything and I was concerned. So yeah, the great information that Karis gave right at the beginning, because I want to talk about the Black Dahlia new book out about the Black Dahlia murder, which is a very, very infamous unsolved case. According to the book, the lady that wrote it, or the person that wrote it, said that there was a person that knew what happened, solved it. So I'm anxious to check that out. But we'll talk about that later. But thank you for bringing that information. Karis is now um, the official person, researcher, special project type thing, because she's often in the chat with us, and she's makes some great suggestions and providing the information, which is for me super helpful. So thank you, Karis. Let's see, make sure I didn't forget anybody. I don't want to get anybody mad at me. Christina, good to see you again. Let's see. Okay, StreamYard. All right. Oh, so Margaret just bought a Destiny shirt. So there you go. You're very welcome. I want to see if you put the stickers on stuff, or you're wearing the shirt, or you're drinking coffee out of your mug. Take a picture and email it to me, Pete at murdermetalmayhem.com. and let me know if it's okay to show it to others, like I did with Donna Lembo, who took a picture in her V-neck Mayhem Squad shirt, which was killer. I got a Mayhem Squad shirt too, because I think I'm in the Mayhem. Can I be in the Mayhem Squad but be in the guy running the whole thing? I guess you could, just officially, like the doctorate that they give. What is that called when you're just like a smart dude, but they're just honorary. There you go, Jenny. Thank you. Honorary doctorate. This is becoming a shtick here that I list. If I'm losing a word, Jenny just boom, because she's been oh man, I don't even know what to say. What she's done for me with things since all this went sideways. It was crazy. So she's been amazing. I didn't ask her to do this, but she's out here doing her nails and off camera, and she does really amazing nails. So, and eventually, when she goes into that business, you could maybe get Jenny to do your nails too. But they come out. No, my nails look like 4-year-olds been chewing on them because I did. That's my thing. So, but I remember in basic training when they showed us how to do it with the clippers, and everybody was laughing because everybody just ripped the stuff off themselves. But glad that Margaret bought her Destiny shirt. Mark and Betty are here from the UK. Excellent. Good to see you both. Definitely a little later there, which is one of the reasons I do these at 4. I've had people ask me about the timing of mine. And the way I look at it is 4 o'clock, you're kind of getting ready for dinner, but it's early yet. And I just keep these at 90 minutes or less. So 5:30, Central, it's done. And then, you got plenty of time to put something together, or if it's something that's got to cook for a while, you can cook it while you're watching. And I figured the people here from Europe that are, 7, 8 hours ahead or 6, however it is, I know it varies as you go across, but they would be late, but not like crazy late. So yeah, I really tried to do that. And with the 7 p.m. stuff, that's a little tougher because 4 p.m. on a weekday would be difficult because people are probably at work. Most people are at work or coming home from work, maybe. I know not everybody does that, like me, being retired. I used to joke around that my commute was from the house, my back door to the studio, which is about 20 paces, 25 paces. That was my commute. So I look out the window like, wow, it looks pretty dry today. The commute might be all right, be okay. And then if it was raining, I had a wet commute in this morning. And so I like to have fun with that, but be a little more interesting in a scooter doing that if the weather was gnarly. So that would probably be a no-go, especially in the wintertime. They don't make, or at least I don't have, snow tires for my scooter. I'm sure they make them, but I don't have any. But the VA gave me a scooter, and it gets right up the ramp. And looking to have some concrete work done on the other side of the studio, where there's an actual door that I could open that's at ground level. And we're going to make it where I could just come right in there and not need the ramp. But the ramp is a great backup and good if the weather was bad and I couldn't get around the other way. So, and then once I'm in the building, there's a clear path for me to get to the table, just like I always did. I'm sitting there on camera, just like it was always, like I was always in there, and you'll be seeing that soon. I've got the home healthcare worker that was really encouraging me to get the studio done. He said that, or he had injured himself, and he's supposed to come back October 16th. And so I thought, you know what, it would be fitting to wait. And then he could come in and help me get the final touches done and do a good tour video for you. And he's going to help me with that. And that'll be a nice, easy project for him to do coming back, because I sure as heck don't want him getting hurt again. But he didn't get hurt here. It was, I don't know if it was at home, but it was somewhere, and he got really messed up, broke his leg. So pretty serious stuff. But thankfully, he's coming back, and it was his idea to really fire me up to get me in there, which was good. So you won't have to look at this crazy dining room that we also use for storage as we renovate that bathroom, and we get some other stuff coming up as well. So it's a little bit of a state of disarray. But you see the merch there. I got the tote bag hanging from the chair. I got the hat. I've got a hoodie back there. So you can see some of the merch. I wanted to get it myself and make sure it was good. I mean, I don't want to tell you guys about it if it's bogus, So um, I made sure I tried everything out, and used it. The tote bag is great. You can make them this small, like almost like a purse size. And I got the one back there is 18-inch. I got the big tote bag because I wanted to be able to put my laptop in it if I needed to in a pinch. And it fits in there perfect. And I've got a big 17-inch laptop. So if you're interested in that, that's a really good deal. And they get the 35% off sale like every weekend or every other weekend. They do them a lot. If you get on the T Public, page, you can sign up for their newsletter. Then you'll get the alerts when they're doing the sales, and you can get shirts for $16, and everything's discounted 35%. So they set the prices, we don't. But those tote bags are a good deal, legit good deal. So good to see everybody here. Really, really nice. Let's see. Mark says, "Go you send to the UK." Oh, will they ship to the UK? I guess that's what you're asking me, Mark and Betty. Yes, they will ship worldwide. I don't know what the charges would be. Of course, it would be according to where you're from, and I'm sure the UK is part of that. It's worldwide shipping from T Public. So the shirts, everything comes from them. So I don't have anything to do with it other than giving them the design and the license to make the shirts and the other gear. And then our end of the license is just like a couple of bucks. It's not very much. In the sale, it's even less. But I'm doing it just because I want to get them out there and get Murder Metal Mayhem seen in more places. And, like you wearing a T-shirt, in the London, city streets would be just friggin' awesome, man. It'd be a cool picture too, to see Murder Metal Mayhem over there in the UK. We've got a lot of our podcast listeners, huge over there in the UK. Listeners for 7-8 years who've been doing this, and they're, and I've interviewed many UK bands, and done them on the show and stuff. So it's cool. All right. So we got some people here. Let's see. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like everybody's handling it. So good to see everybody. All right. So yeah, they'll ship worldwide. You get it. The U.S. stuff comes in a week. I mean, I've been blown away at how fast they turn it around. So definitely, if you're into that sort of thing, merchandise and stuff, there's tons of it. And like I said, the Italian Ice. I even did one for my dog, Pee Wee, who I've nicknamed now Puppuccino, and I made a design of him in like the streets, because he's a rough like thug dog, and so he's out there on the streets. He ran away, about a month ago or so. Trotted down the sidewalk to a house, two houses next door. He was outside and wandered, but we got him back. But yeah, he's a Chihuahua, so I made a funny cartoon of his walking down the street. And so the Puppuccino design is on there too, if you're interested in showing that off, if you just liked it because it's silly. But yeah, Pee Wee is his real name, but his rap name is Puppuccino. So Italian Ice and Puppuccino coming at you now. So yeah. Kara says she loves dogs. I am not a dog person. I'll be honest. When I first was approached by my wife about getting a dog, I was like, okay, because I didn't grow up around them, and my issue with dogs back, then I've changed, but I'm just saying, like then was negative because I used to have a paper route. And if anybody's ever had a paper route where you're like walking through yards and climbing fences and everything else, yeah, you're going to get bit. But it was always the little ones, that I didn't like because they were always the ones like going at you. And so anyway, when we got the dog, it was like at first it was cool because it was different, and then I'm just like this. I didn't like it. I didn't want anything harmful to come to it, but I just didn't like that we had him here. Well, then when I came back with my leg amputation back right before Thanksgiving, he was like really attached to me, like he was like watching out for me because he obviously could see like part of me is missing, and I'm in this chair and what's going on. So he was always at my side. And then when I come out here to the dining room to work, um, he comes in here with me and he lays down, usually under the table. That's his hideout, and he just crashes under there. And so he has been my companion here while my wife is at work, and so we goof around when I have to get up and get coffee. He comes and he's up at attention. I used to call him Sergeant because he was like the guard dog. So we have a big "Beware of Dogs" sign in the window and everything. So, but no, he's cool now. He's cool now, but there was a time where he was on thin ice, but he's safe now. He's safe now. All right. Yeah, Mark and Betty says, I've always had a dog. Beat the best friend you'll ever have. Yeah, I mean, I've been told that, but like I said, my experience, Mark, was running in the night or early morning when I delivered the Sunday paper. That was the worst because it was early morning and people weren't up, and I'm out there throwing papers. And yeah, some rough mornings dealing with dogs. But yeah, they're cool. Very, very good. All right. Well, this is an open discussion. As you can plainly see, I'm talking about nonsense, but having some fun, just relaxing and discussing things with you. But wanted to see what you thought about, things going on lately with true crime. And I guess we could start out Idaho 4, since I know a lot of you are interested in the Idaho 4, but anybody have anything they want to say? I mean, I've been dialing back my watching of the stuff about Idaho 4. I have a few channels that I like. I watch pretty regularly, but now it's just been a little bit less, like A.R. Hayes and Lucky and Lee over there at Lee. My gosh, how did I forget what Lee? I always have trouble with this name. Devil's Advocates. I'm sorry, Lee. I'm serious with this necrotizing fasciitis stuff. It can be problematic. Still, it's like the gift that just keeps on giving, I guess. But yeah, so I've been working on the novel, or my story about my incident with the health stuff, starting out with the necrotizing fasciitis and then going into the amputation stuff. And it's not gory, it's nothing like that. There won't be any pictures that are gory. I don't want to put anything like that in the book. I haven't even looked at those pictures. There's pictures, but I don't want to look at them. um, I mean, I've had one wound now for over a year. The necrotizing fasciitis wound is a half inch and it hasn't moved for a while. It's just like hanging out. So I may have to have a little small surgery in that area to open it up so it could be sutured, and then that would heal faster than the last half inch of a wound that covered a pretty major part of my back, my low back. So it's gonna hopefully get done, because once that's done, then they can do some other things that need to be done, but they can't do that until that wound is healed. And it was, I got surgery, June 1st of 2024. So, it's been well over a year now, going on 18 months that I went through that, and the wound is still persisting. I go every Thursday to have the doctor look at it, and he debrides it, which hurts and bleeds and everything else. But it's every week. He just keeps doing that because that's to stimulate getting it finished. But he said that it's very common for these wounds like this to hang on at the end. So it's been a son of a gun. But we got a question or a comment here from Karis, Voice of Astrology. What do you think of Brian's selfies that mainstream media is mocking, making truckloads of money off all of it? Yeah, I agree. I was just talking about this with Jenny about the, people saying, oh, you're making money off of this or that. First of all, I'm making barely anything off of it, so they can go to hell. But even if I was making good money, what the hell business is it of theirs? Because they're sure bringing it in, as you properly noted, by denoting truckloads. They're making all kinds of money, and they're getting millions and millions of views. I'm only getting a few thousand, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that I obviously don't nearly have the reach that they do, and it's hard to combat that stuff. But thankfully, with others, in the community and the other creators, which is one of the reasons why when I first started the channel back in December of 23, we had the channel since we started the podcast. I just didn't use it for anything but a few random videos. And so, I went and sought out the creators that I liked to see if I could interview them and then put their interviews on my channel. And that's what I started doing. That's how I met AR. That's how I met Lucky. And it worked because now we're like an alliance, and it's harder to mess with, individuals that are part of a group that could, just be like, hey, you need to stop it. So that's how I ran the heavy core organization with bands. Did the same thing with bands. We had bands that joined from all over the world. But yeah, I think that it's in poor taste. I'm sure anybody, what would you do if somebody got a hold of your phone and just copied it and be like, hey, here's what's on so and so's phone? I mean, that would be embarrassing to a lot of people, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure most people are, not going nuts with it, but I mean, hey, it's your phone, so whatever you're watching or looking at, it's none of anybody's damn business as I catch it. But unfortunately, it becomes a thing. And like in this case, you get the media putting it out there and they're making fun of the guy. And I just think it's shitty, making goofy faces. I mean, who doesn't do that? I did that all the time with my grandkids or just in general. I mean, I'm kind of goofy. I like doing fun, silly things, and I'm like an immature 5-year-old, so, but at least I could talk and write. And so I'll keep on keeping on. But no, I think that it's not right. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way, Karis. Let's see. Teresa said a close friend of hers went through that. I think you're talking about necrotizing fasciitis. Yeah, not a pleasant thing. The hospital that I went to, well, there were two. The first one where I went in originally to the ER, when we first went in there, that's when they identified it and did the first surgery. It was an emergency. They like basically threw me down on a gurney and said, kiss your wife, we're out of here, And so I was just like, holy shit, And they whisked me down the hall, and they didn't even have an ER. They were searching for room. There was the hospital was full, and the hospital they were going to send me to was full. So they were freaking out because this necrotizing fasciitis, as Teresa I'm sure knows, is ruthless. I mean, it's brutal. It moves very quickly through the body, like fast. And they had to do surgery right at that moment. I mean, that's how urgent it was. They claim if they're within, I think, 12 hours of when it shows itself, um, then, your odds of living through it are much, much greater. But we had been a week because we went to the ER and they sent us home. But we were a week with it presenting itself. And so my odds were, very slim and not a good situation, So, but they got me stable and intubated and everything, and then shipped me to the next hospital. And this was like a premier hospital here in the Midwest. And thankfully the VA took care of me, took care of all of it, and had multiple surgeons at the second hospital working on me multiple times. I went through 5 surgeries in 10 days. Intubated for 12 days, and then woke up in a complete daze after that, and had to kind of refigure out things again. But all of that's going to be in the book. So if you're interested in the story, it'll be in there. I'm working on it right now, and it's interesting to kind of look back at some of it. Now having been a little bit removed from it, but not much. I'm still in the middle of it. I thought it would be cool to write it as I'm still in the fight, so that this way it gets more real. I wanted to be as realistic as possible. So I'm not writing it like a textbook where it's like on day 1 they did this and this and this, and I ate. That no, it's not like that. It's divided up in sections, as you'll see, and I have one that just about the nightmares that I had when I was under the intubation drugs, really powerful, like horse tranquilizer type stuff, ketamine, and what was the other one? Ketamine and propofol,
and fentanyl.
Yeah, nice. Then after 10 days, it's very dangerous with that under that kind of heavy drugs to come out of it normal or the same. And so that's what I'm battling now, is some of that, which is, in my case, a lot of it's just short-term memory stuff, and where I'll just kind of get stuck on a word, and then eventually I remember it, but then I look stupid because I kind of change the subject. So if I do that to you, I can't say I'm sorry enough, because I don't want to have you be like, "What's up with this guy?" Let's see. So yeah, I've been through it, and thanks, Mark and Betty, for that kind thought. And my mom appropriately, yeah, been through hell and back, but with family and friends and good people around me, able to pull through it and forge on. I mean, I battled cancer in 2001 and beat it. I've been in like 2 or 3 like gnarly car wrecks and beat it. Something's telling me that I'm not done here on this planet yet. So that's why I keep going on, because there's got to be some kind of purpose to this, or somebody wouldn't, I hope, put me through it all. But along the way, it's fun. I've morphed. I was doing the band thing for a long time, wasn't really writing very much. And then as the band started to fade off, started writing heavily again, and then doing now the podcast and the channel and all these different things are things I'd never done before, So it's just kind of like venturing in new areas. And I am enjoying the video stuff, even though video has always been the thing I hated to deal with the most, which is why most of my videos are unedited. If you watch my videos, you will see if I've done it to 3 or 4 episodes, it's because something goofy happened, like my phone rang or something, where I'll have to splice it. I know I watch some of them. They splice it so much, I'm thinking this would take forever to put this together. And they do a good job of putting it together, but it's just like, oh my gosh, that would take so much time. And so I just do them, just boom, knock them out. But I'm only going for 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So there you go. Pete, you were born to inspire. That's very nice of you to say. That's very nice of you to say. And Isles of Shoals, good to see you here. Someone upstairs wants you here. Yeah, I'm glad somebody, whether he's upstairs or next door or wherever he or she may be, definitely believe that there's something that could be out there. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been religious, never been a religious person. Nothing against it, just never been my thing. But Idaho 4, I think that's a good start of a discussion that Karis brought up about, those pictures and videos off of Brian's phone. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, do you guys think that they're being hard on the dude? I mean, I can't even watch like the coverage like Brian Enton and any of that. I can't deal with him. I can watch him with the Sheriff Stines stuff, but when it comes to the Idaho 4, I just can't. You know, it just I don't know, just turns me off because I know it's BS. I mean, we sit there; it's like watching somebody lie to you, and you know that they're lying to you, and you have to just sit there and listen to it. I mean, so Mark and Betty say, get on YouTube more, Pete. Keeping busy seems to suit you. Yes. Yeah, I'm probably busier now than when I was working. Um, uh, I work all the time. I work usually 7 days a week, but it's not every minute of every day. Don't get me wrong. Because I did that for 30 years and I retired. But now that I'm retired, I can spend time doing other things. So right now, it's working on the book and it's working on videos and ideas for the channel and doing what I do for you guys or with you guys is all part of that. And now I added, let me throw that banner up there while I'm thinking about it. The new show on Murder Metal Mayhem, the Serial Killer Story Hour. If you've not seen that, you really would like that show. And, just because, it's a free thing here, a free chat on true crime. Why don't we look at that? I'm going to show you that video. Let me find it. Serial killer story. I want to make sure I show you the right one because once I show it, I can't stop it. I think this is the one. Hopefully, it's right. I think it is.
Oh, it's time to gather round, get all the kids in the neighborhood. Yeah! We'll sit in circles and clap our hands and clap, clap, clap. We'll jump up and down and scream. Yeah! It's the Serial Killer Story Hour and it's live with Pete Altieri. That's the bald guy from Murder Metal Mayhem. Come on, kids, scream out! Serial Killer Story Hour, yeah! Serial Killer Story Hour, yeah, yeah! How about one more time with some balls, kids? Yeah. Serial Killer Story Hour, yeah! Horns high, high, high.
Very nice. Blunt Force Band. Those kids there, they were really cheering, loving it, loving some Murder Metal Mayhem. But that's why we got the shirts. We got kids' shirts too. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, who would do such a thing, right? Me. That's who would do such a thing. But no, Serial Killer Story Hour Tuesdays at 7 Central. Next week, doing the spoiled brat and complete idiot who drove her car 100 miles into a brick wall to kill her ex. I mean, this was one of those relationships, but we'll call him an ex-boyfriend and his friend who just was wanting a ride home, 100 miles an hour, and walked away from it, so to speak. She got away. She got injuries, but they both did not make it, the other two. But we're going to do that one. Mackenzie Sharilla. That's a current case. We did Taylor Shabusiness recently with my friend Juan Molina. Came on and talked about Taylor Shabusiness and all of her business. and we did that. And so, yeah, if you want to catch that, it's an hour or less. I keep them short and sweet. You know how I work. And I'll have guests on periodically. I have my friend Shane, called him Canadian Shane, but my buddy Shane Borchuk from Winnipeg, Manitoba, up there in the great country of Canada. And Shane came on and we talked about an infamous killer in Canada, Alan Legier, who was the monster of the Miramichi. That was a good discussion. But they're all on the live tab if you want to look at any of those former. I need to do a playlist of just those. There's so many things like that I need to do. I'm just so damn busy. Like Mark and Betty said, it just suits me. So I'm just always kind of been that way. So, all right, very good. And the channel membership, thanks to everybody. Horns High Club, you guys are awesome. Mayhem Squad. You can join the channel through the the join tab there at the top. And if you want to do that, that's up to you. That's up to you. But pays the bills, which is nice because it's not free to do this. I have to pay StreamYard, and they keep jacking their rates up because they're like the only game in town. So there are options, but I know most people use StreamYard. But it's nice because it's like built for this, which it's hard to not take advantage of it. You know what I mean? And if you want to help for free, go ahead and hit the like button. That helps the video get out there to more people. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that before you leave. And if you're watching on the replay crew, appreciate you being here as well. And drop a comment just saying, hey, Pete, what's up? Or make a comment about what I'm talking about, which would be difficult in this episode because I've been just rambling about various things. But I'm waiting for you guys. This is your time to talk about whatever you want to talk about here. Catherine S. throwing up business is a nutcase, without a doubt. I mean, she went after her attorney like at least twice, but maybe a third time. And the last time she did, I thought it was funny. She gets up and goes after this attorney, and there's this deputy that looked like he could have played for the Packers or something. I mean, this dude was gigantic. And he just comes out of nowhere and tackles her and like completely leveled her. I mean, she had to have gotten a concussion from that hit. That was just brutal. And then he just landed on her. It's like, yeah, no, you're not going anywhere. And she had to be just out of it with that. I'd love to see who that dude was because he was a beast. That was really cool. And Catherine says, thanks or congrats on 14,000 subscribers. Yeah, it's been a little bit since we passed that, but approaching 15,000. So if you're not a subscriber, maybe I should do a subscriber rally or some sort of way to get some more people over here. But trying to get into some different cases, not just all talking about the Idaho 4. I mean, what about the Sheriff Stines case? Anybody following that one in Kentucky? Holy crap. I mean, that's a wild one. I mean, if you're not familiar with that, I did a couple videos on it. I'm going to do another one hopefully tomorrow on the Sheriff Stines case. But wow, I mean, he comes into this judge's chambers and it's all on video. They had closed circuit video of this judge's chambers. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But the judge and the bailiff and some other people were bringing women back there that were inmates and giving them deals if they performed various things. And this is all on video. Now it's on video because of that, this became a thing. That's where I was going with that. So this happened. People came forward, turned them in. The bailiff got some time. The judge probably just got a slap on the hand. But now he's involved in this again, and this has been going on, and they're bringing them off site. Like these guards were taking home women out of the jail, and then bringing them home for the night, like a library book, and then bringing them back in the morning. I mean, have you ever heard of such a thing? And these women were trapped because they were mostly drug addicts. So they had these sentences hanging over their heads of, meth possession and all this other stuff. Probably going to get canceled now because they said meth. And I just did it twice. But, they do this kind of stuff. And then they're trapped. They can't get out of it. And these people were holding stuff over their head. This one woman came forward and said that they would hold her kids over her head, threaten her to go to DCFS if she didn't play their game. And she had to go to like a private house and like all these other places they would take them to and do these things to them with other guys there. I mean, it's horrible. And so this Sheriff Stines comes in and just blows this dude away, this judge, right in his chair, like 5 or 6, bam, 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 empties it, and then leaves and turns himself right into the deputies that were outside. So, and he was freaking out. He said he was scared that people were after him and after his family, and he didn't want to go in the car because he thought they were going to take him somewhere and shoot him in the back of the head. I mean, like, it was crazy. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on with this sheriff because they had a psychiatrist, I guess, that evaluated him that said, like, he's legit. Like, this isn't a joke. So it's scary stuff. And it's this big sex ring and sex, stuff going on with these poor inmates over there. And they're being forced to do it, with legal, repercussions if they don't follow their orders, which is just heinous, just absolutely heinous. Yeah, Mickey Stein's case, definitely crazy. So if you're not familiar with Mickey Stines, that's the sheriff's name. His name is not Mickey, but that's what they called him. But if you Google Mickey Stines or Stines Sheriff or something like that, you'll find it. But I've got, like I said, a video or two that I've done about the case, and I need to get on a more regular basis with it because it's been interesting. So, yeah, that's definitely a good one for just wild police corruption. And those of us that are into the Idaho 4 know all about wild, crazy corruption. I mean, that's just, here, the Wonderland murders, Karis for Voice of Astrology mentions, never solved that case either, but not a PG type topic. That might be tough for YouTube, but I've been debating. I know that that's how a lot of creators do it. I just don't want to turn this into a crazy amount of work for myself. But if I did like a Patreon thing and we did video, I don't know if I could do video on, my wife is nodding, that you can do video on Patreon. I think that's how they're doing it. And then people could pay just I'll make the fee as low as I possibly can. Most of those things, they set a minimum I can't go below. But I'll make them as free, as cheap as I can. And then people can go there to watch content we can't do here. That might not be a bad idea for some of those kind of cases. Like, I mean, doing the Taylor Business one was tough to do when I had to keep it PG-13. Plus, my mom was here. I told Juan that if there was anything disgusting that we had to talk about, I was going to have him do it because my mom was going to be watching. So it was funny. But yes, the Wonderland murders would be a really good one to do, and definitely would be a good one to do on a different platform because YouTube would strike with various anger. And if I did it where I didn't monetize it, it probably wouldn't be as bad. But I don't know how far they take it if I was not monetizing that episode. That might be another way to do it. So, a couple of ideas there. Let's see. The Menendez brothers. Yeah, Catherine bringing that one up while she's been out in the desert. The Menendez brothers denied a new trial or release. What do you guys think about that? I know that's a case from several years ago that a lot of people haven't talked about for a long time, right? The Menendez brothers shot their parents like brutally with shotguns, claiming that the dad had been abusing them. The problem with it is that they were adults, so it's like, okay, so you're not in the house anymore. Like, I mean, if that was true, that's horrible that their dad did that to them, but you're out of the house, just like go move or something and get away from them. But no, they couldn't do that because the parents had a bunch of money and they were greedy and they wanted to hang out and cash in on that money, and then thought, well, why wait? They pulled a Burke and Hare. They thought, why wait? Let's just go ahead and make them, dead a little quicker, and then we'll get the money and we can go do our thing. Because then one of them was like really into tennis, and the other one, I can't remember what his cars or something. So yeah, you get a couple of rich kids with all that money buying cars and all that nonsense. So it was an interesting case. But yeah, the Menendez brothers would have been interesting had it gone to a trial, like some sort of retrial or some sort of something, but apparently not. They were both denied. So here Catherine goes on that no one believes the dad was abusing them, but the brothers, one of the members of the band, yeah, Menudo, I heard that, said that concurred that the dad was doing that to him and others, I believe he said. So without a doubt, it was just at least just him. But so that corroborated the story. So I was wondering if you guys thought this camera looked weird. I had a problem. If you watched the live on Thursday, I was not able to get my camera working. I was using my phone, which I thought really looked pretty decent. And then because the laptop, the camera went out, or at least StreamYard doesn't recognize my camera. So when I went to go live on Thursday, I did everything like I always do, but it didn't recognize my phone. And so that was causing a problem. So then I had another camera out in the studio that I used in case I wanted to do like two different cameras out there. And thankfully it works, but it's like a wide shot and I wanted it a closer shot. And that's why I didn't use it in the videos, because it showed too much of the studio. And the problem is with the way the studio is configured, if you're only looking at the wall in front of you, it looks good. If you start looking at the other walls on the side, it starts to get confusing and it gets kind of cluttered with the masks. And then on one side, it goes from black to white, but you could see the blood spatters all over the walls on that side. But it just doesn't look the way I like it. So I like the tighter shot, but I don't see a way I can change it. Short of going in afterwards with the Vegas Pro, which is what I use for the video editing, which I try to avoid, but when I have to, I can use that. Let's see. So no one believes that, and that's interesting. Oh yeah, misleading evidence. Now talk about a good one. And this would definitely be one for a Patreon. Misleading evidence posts. How about Joseph Callinger? What a good one to do. That guy was whacked. I mean, that is a crazy case. If you don't know about Joseph Callinger, go search that in YouTube. And we did a podcast on him, but it was a long time ago. So if you go into the YouTube search bar and just do Murder Metal Mayhem Joseph Callinger, it should come up, unless it's one of the ones they banned, which there were several they did. So, but they're all on, whatever platform you use, like for Spotify or whatever you listen to music on. We should be on there, and you could find it that way too. But it was one of the early episodes, Joseph Callinger. But yeah, he had a thing. He thought the world was coming to an end or something crazy, and he was going out and doing all these really weird things. And he bought this like house in the middle of like a bad neighborhood and was like digging into tore the house like down to the bare dirt basically and dug a big hole. And Oh boy, he was doing things in the hole, which I can't get into here on YouTube. Very, very horrific case, but involved quite a bit of murdering and just wild. But yeah, if you haven't heard of it, he was creepy. It's been a while since I've watched it. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but it's disgusting. I mean, the stuff that he was throwing down this hole, like he was going to random people's houses and stealing things and then throwing them into this hole because he had this crazy paranoid belief of something. I'm seeming to think it was like the end of the world or something after him. It was something really wacky, but good one, misleading evidence. I hadn't heard of that name for quite a while. We actually did a commercial for Callender's shoe repair. That was his thing. He repaired shoes. Um, Joseph Callender's shoe repair was the commercial we did. We used to do very distasteful commercials on the podcast. That's why, like I said, you can't watch that if you're not down with a little bit of that sort of dark humor, swearing, and debauchery going on. But yeah, it was a good case. Okay, here we go. Purple Smurf, excellent. Eagles fan here. Remember hearing about him? I was a kid in Philly at that time. Him and his son, yeah. He took his son with him, like on the bus, and they took the bus around. And he lived in Kensington, and now I hear um, the M and F capital. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, the sons were just that was just an awful story. You know, anytime you're talking about kids, it's a tough one for me. I love kids so much. My grandkids get spoiled rotten by me. I've spoiled my granddaughter to the point where she loves to come over here and eat popsicles with Papa. So you know, I've always got popsicles in the fridge, in the freezer, and any of the grandchildren or kids just in general that end up over here, I'm always showing them where the popsicles are. I always tell them, in case I'm not here, you can go up there and find them. And and so they know. And so she was a baby. She'd go crawling in there and point, you know, up to the freezer. I'd pick her up and she'd open the freezer and go right for a popsicle. She'd grab her one, she'd grab me one. She'd pick the colors, you know, and it was really cute. And then we would go outside and sit on my swing out on the porch. And she liked to watch the cars and the trucks go by, and she would tell me which one was which. And then when the buses went, she got really excited because that meant her big brother was coming home. And he would come and stay with me for a little while till their mom came and picked him up. So yeah, I had Papa's, I called it Papa's Silly Center, was in operation for that school year while I watched her in the afternoons. But it was the most fun I'd had. And I love little kids like that. And they're just so fun at that age. She's just turned 3, so she's just really awesome. But yeah, that's an awful story about Callender, man. He was messed up. He was messed up. But yeah, definitely like the grandkids coming over here. I've got my oldest granddaughter just turned 16, which is crazy, and the youngest, Scarlett Marie, is 3, and she sounds like a movie star. I think she will be a movie star. Um, and here. Oh, you're going to do this to me again, Katie F. Tig old biddies. Yeah, I almost bit the dust on that one last time. Yeah, me too. I love kids. I don't like anyone messing with kids, animals, or old people. Yeah, for sure. That gets me mad too. The calls, those robocalls, Katie. You know, where people call you just random about your car insurance and all that stupid nonsense. What really gets me mad is I know that most of the people that fall for that crap are older people, and that's the worst. I mean, that is so horrible. You know, you got people living on a fixed income, they're older, you know, they've put their time in, so to speak. Now they're chilling in the last quarter, right? And people messing with them, and then they got financial issues. You know, that's horrible. So this should be a special place in hell for people that mess with any one of those 3 groups. I'm down with that. It's terrible. But you're doing that. KDF. I almost bid at the. We were laughing about this on Thursday. I know, with AR and and yeah, she says they grow up so fast. They definitely do, very very fast. But yeah, my own kids, I used to spoil them too, and it was difficult when I joined the army because I didn't get to see them. I was joined the army October of '91, 2 weeks after my son was born. So I saw him for 2 weeks, then I'd leave for basic at Fort Knox, and I was there until February. So I missed 6 months, and I got to see him. You know, it was like crazy. You know, I really hadn't seen him for only a couple of weeks, and then get to see him for six at the 6 month mark was nice. And then my daughter was only 2 going on 3 when I left, so it was hard to miss that year almost of that 6 months with her. And she was growing so fast. They all grow quick. So yeah, I missed them so much. Definitely missed them. But I think it was me and like 2 or 3 other guys that had kids. Everybody else was 18 and fresh out of high school. I was 24. So I already lived on my own and had dealt with, bills and having to, keep myself afloat and all that, where most of these kids were just, spoiled from being home. But the war was, Desert Storm was going on, and I got lucky that I didn't have to go because while we were in basic, they put orders out for all of us to go to Kuwait. And so we were all going, everybody. And then about 3 weeks later or so, they came down on orders again, but this time they changed it and they sent us all to the U.S. So all of us stayed stateside. I went to Texas at Fort Hood, and that's how it worked out. So the war was over, and so we didn't have to go. So I just went to Fort Hood, and then the guys coming back from Iraq all got like a 30-day leave, and then we had to clean all their crap. So that really sucked. We were at the wash rack every day washing the tank. You get sand on like a shoe, like you go to the beach, right? No matter how careful you are, no matter how careful you shake everything out, there's still sand in your car. I don't care what you do, right? It's going to be there. And it drive you nuts. Imagine it with a tank, okay? We were taking tanks to the wash rack and spray blast, water blasting the sand off them from the desert, and then they would dry and you'd see sand. You keep seeing sand. No matter how much you'd wash it off, there was still more and more and more. And it'd drive you nuts. We'd wash them all, and then they would look at it and go, they're still dirty. Like, well, we washed them like multiple times. And it was frustrating. So yeah, that 30 days they got to chill, but they deserved it. And we were busting hump back at the base doing all of that, and then got to meet everybody when they got back. It was just super cool. But KDF says thanks for your service. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Says her dad was in the military, the Army and Navy, and not having him home sucked. Yeah, for sure. I definitely wouldn't have liked that either. So, but yeah, thanks to your dad who served as well in the Army, which is what I was. But anybody want to talk about any other cases here? Like I said, I'm just riffing. I'm at an hour 15. I can't believe I've just riffed on nothingness. I feel like a Seinfeld episode. There's nothing that's really happened here. Just the fun discussion, loose topics. I haven't heard anything new with the Long Island serial killer, but I know Lee and I from Devil's Advocates, we were working on that. We had talked about doing some lives, but the problem is every time we'd schedule a live to talk about that, something big would come up in Idaho 4, so that we'd have to change it to the Idaho 4. I think that's happened to us twice at least. So this Thursday, we're planning on doing one about a devil. I can't remember the name of it. He had suggested it when we did a live together.
Devil's Mayhem.
The Devil's Mayhem is what we call it when we get together.
Oh,
Yeah, the movie. It's a documentary. It's on Netflix. I think it's like The Devil Inside, but it's not that, but it's similar to that. I wish I was more prepared. I'm sorry, I'm not. Um, but but yeah, that's what we're going to do. Planning to do that at least on Thursday, unless something crazy happens in one of the other cases. But we're going to talk about the movie or the documentary because it involves a case in New Jersey where I think that somebody was murdered and they blamed it on like somebody being possessed. And I was found that interesting because in New Jersey, um, there was a case where this happened with a little boy, and that's what inspired The Exorcist. William Peter Blatty read an article in the newspaper about the Robbie Mannheim story, which was a made up name, I think, to protect him. But Robbie Mannheim got, supposedly possessed. They took him to St. Louis and exorcised him and all this. It's a wild story, and whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. But that's what gave him the idea for the book, and he used a female instead of a boy, and basically took that idea and ran with it. I thought it was awesome. That's how most books are inspired by true stories. That's how I am with my characters. They're all real people. Yeah, here's my mom saying she got a text the other day from Medicare saying I had to update my file. Yeah, right, exactly. Like they're going to text you something like that. They're so stupid. But what's frustrating is that they're out there doing this, and obviously they're scamming somebody, right? Somebody's buying this nonsense. So that's what gets you upset. Is like, man, these people are doing this, and there's people believing them, and that's just not right. That's just not right. But let's see. So riffing, KDF says riffing is good. Yeah, I like to just kind of. I'm fine with it. Like I said, I used to do training for guys. Most of them were maintenance guys, and I used to tell funny stories. And I've got so many stories I haven't told you guys, but that I used to tell in class. Maybe one of these lives I'll do nothing but stories. I've got some good ones. I mean, the time that I went down the hill in a sled, I don't know if I've told you this one or not, but I went down the hill in a sled when I was in like fifth grade, and it was real icy. And we used to go down. I lived in a condominium with my parents in Connecticut when I was little, up to when I moved away. Well, I moved to another city, but nonetheless, I grew up in Connecticut. Born in the Bronx, grew up in Connecticut. So we were in this condominium, and then down the hill, it was called Drummer's Lane, which is kind of funny because I was a bass player. Um, Down the hill, Drummer's Lane, there was all these like flat, like duplexes. So the yards would go flat and then dip down and then flat and dip down. So you get going on a sled. I mean, you're airborne the faster you go down these little dips. And there was probably a dozen of them down there. And then the very end, there was a bigger house and a big tree and a main road, so that you knew when you could see the tree, you better slow down, because either that or you'd go straight into the main road and it'd be dangerous. So we used to do a big wide turn and slow down. Anyway, it's dusk and I'm going down this hill, and my sister wouldn't let me borrow her sled. She had a better sled than I did. So I basically took it with her sled and ran down this hill and jumped on the sled and took off. Nobody went with me. And as I'm getting down to the last house, the back end of the sled is kind of doing this number. And I'm like, oh no. And I went and started spinning. And I remember seeing this little tree. It looked like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, like this pathetic looking thing coming up from the snow. And I reached out to try to grab it, and I couldn't. It was just barely out of my reach as I spun by it. And then all of a sudden, it just immediately stopped. And I woke up, and I'm on my back in the basement of this guy's house because I went through the window. his basement window, and I was little enough, if you could believe that, looking at my big ass, I was little enough to go through the window, and yeah, and it was crazy, and yeah, it was, I had to pay for the window and everything, but it was is a funny story. So it was not good. My sister was, oh, I'm going to tell dad. I'm going to tell dad. Yeah, I know. I'm going to tell dad too. I'm all beat up. So yeah, that's the sled story. So I've got stories like that. I could, for hours, we could talk about stuff like that. I don't know if you guys like that sort of thing, but Katie F is laughing. So, I don't know if it's funny or you're just like, oh man, get off the TV. I'm tired of you. But we got 8 minutes and 10 seconds or so. But Voice of Astrology says that's hilarious or that's hysterical. Thanks, guys. Katie F is laughing. So yeah, I like to do stuff like that, tell stories. I've got so many of them. I'm trying to think of a short one I could tell you. Yeah, offhand, I'm not thinking. I used to do. I probably shouldn't say this on YouTube. I probably get myself in trouble about the things I did through the mail. Yeah, we'll leave that. We'll leave that for Patreon. If I ever do Patreon, I might tell you the story about the mail. Yeah, that's not good. Um, so yeah, KDF says he used to do a ramp. Yeah, those are the coolest things, right, Katie? I mean, doing the ramps, and we used to do that too because I lived at the top of a hill, and then right next to the condo was a hill that went up to where the pool was. So we had the hill right now, basically that went into our yard. So it was cool. We get up on the hill, me and my little sister, and go down the hill. And we built a ramp out back, and of course we'd like try to ice it down and stuff, so we could just fly over it, which made it like insanely dangerous. But good stuff. Oh, here's Juan Molina wanting to talk about some Crazy Mike stories. Oh boy, Crazy Mike was a character, true a true character. I call him a character because he was an interesting person. He still is interesting, I'm sure, but I haven't talked to him in a really long time. But Mike was a friend of ours that used to come to the band practices all the time and used to come with us to the shows. And he loved hanging out with the band. And he was bald, and every now and then somebody at a show would think he was me. So like he'd be in the bathroom and somebody's like, "Man, that was killer, Pete," and he's just like, "I'm not Pete," And they're like, "What?" He was shorter than I was, but I guess the bald head, I don't know, but yeah, Mike was a wild one. He did a lot of crazy stuff, and hence the name. I named him Crazy Mike Lanham, but Mike is a good dude, and he took pictures with the camera. I'm gonna have to PG-13 this one. Because Juan was on many a trip with us, going all over the damn Midwest. Us and his band, Blessed with Pain, which you could just tell that's like they do kids songs and stuff. And Low 12 and Blessed with Pain would be playing, and Crazy Mike's taking pictures. And at the end of the night, he would give me the camera, and then I would take the digital pictures and upload them and stuff. And man, there were some pictures on this camera of people and women and clothes coming off and stuff. And I'm just like, whoa, like I did not know this was on here. Like, who is this? And Crazy Mike, he was just suave, I guess. He was just telling them whatever he told them. I don't even know. But it was always funny because we laugh about Crazy Mike in the pictures, but yeah, he was a good dude, good dude. So Katie says you wrote a book. I've written several books, Katie. I'm going to flash up that banner while we're on the clock here. Let me see if I can find that. I've got a banner for it. There we go. I've got free samples on my website, petealtieri.com. I really need to update it, but there's a short story from each of my short story collections. If you like horror, suspense, from like old school Stephen King style, Clive Barker, to like Edgar Allan Poe, huge Poe fan, Lovecraft to some extent, but big in Poe. Also love Ray Bradbury, William Peter Blatty, Howard Block. Um, those guys were all, very, very influential on me as a young writer. But I've been writing since I was in fourth grade. And I've been super into it in the last 7 or 8 years. I've written several books, as I mentioned, 4 short story collections: Creation of Chaos, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All short stories. Some of them have like alternate endings or like choose your adventure type stuff, which is fun. And but it's horror, but it's not like Freddy and Jason stuff. It's more psychological. There's a little bit of that kind of stuff, but not a lot. And then I've written 2 novels, uh, the Dreadful Lives of Enoch Strange. That was the first one I published, and then the second one was Deeper Than Dead, and that's a first part of a series I'm working on, Deeper Than Dead, but all horror type stuff. So if you're into that, you can read a free chapter from the novels and then a free story from each of the books. So you have quite a bit of stuff you can read before you buy a thing and make sure it's your style. And not everybody likes all the way a writer writes. So, check it out. If you like it, then you can grab a book there. If you buy a book off my website, I'll sign it. I'll give you a bookmark and then a poster, 11 by 17 poster of the cover art for all but Deeper Than Dead. That's the only one I didn't do a poster for, but all the other ones I have posters for, and I'll sign the poster and ship it from here. If you buy it on Amazon, because I am there, I don't have anything to do with shipping that. They deal with that. I can't sign it because it's not coming here. So it comes to you just the book. And they give me like 12 cents or some ridiculous amount of money. It's almost negligible what they give me. But yeah, we get a little piece. And I say little, I mean like little. And then the audio books, I've got 2 books I've done on audio. So if you like, the way I, talk, or a lot of people like the way I speak, you can listen to me on audiobooks. I did Creation of Chaos 3 and then Creation of Chaos 4. So if that's your thing, you can do that there. That's on Audible, Amazon, any of them. You can search me by name and find it on audiobooks. So if you're into that, you can do that. And if anybody's wanting to do any sort of tip or anything for today, that's up to you, of course. I don't ever expect it, but it's there if you want to. People always ask me about it. So let's see here. Let's see what else we got on the. Voice of Astrology says, I love your short story, Elvis and the Two Dead Hookers. Yeah, it's a good one. It's in my first collection, but a guy, he's like transposed into the 50s, and he's driving this hot rod, and he gets pulled over by the cops, and they ask him to go open up his trunk, and he's just like, all right, whatever. And he opens it, and there's 2 dead hookers in his trunk. And the story gets kind of crazy from there. So you'll have to read that, but that's one of the free ones on there. So you can check that out. A little humor in there, but if you're used to watching me, then that should be no surprise to you. There is, if you want to hear a good short story, I did an audio reading of this with the cast from Murder Metal Mayhem, and it's called the 666 Express. I think I've posted links to it before, but if you type in Murder Metal Mayhem 666 Express, you'll see it. Check that out, because we did all the sound effects, and it's a story I wrote about a train that goes 666 miles and all this. And these guys get tickets, and it gets wild. and there's zombies. There's like blood in the train. I mean, it's wild as it's hurtling 666 miles, which is the distance between Dallas and Denver. I actually searched on Google until I found two cities that were that far apart. I found it, and so that's what I use. You can get from Dallas to Denver in 1 hour, 666. Which is where the whole 666 seconds comes in. See, that's what I'm saying. I've been using that little goof for a bit and getting as much mileage out of it as possible. But the 666 Express is a good story if you haven't heard that. It's funny. I'm one of the characters, so I can't talk and narrate it. So I had my friend Tucker, who's a really good narrator, great voice. He narrates it, and then I'm me in the story, and then all the other guys are them. And CK, who's passed now, he does his voice too. So you got CK on there, and the three of us, and then the narrator. So it's interesting. And I got a band from Australia in Malice's wake to let us use their music for it. So there's some music on there, but not much. I know not everybody likes metal, but for the sequences between, we used some of their music. It's super cool. So, all right. Well, we're at the bell, even a little couple minutes over. I know you guys got dinner to cook or food to order or a game to watch or whatever it is you do on Sunday. I really appreciate you guys coming out. And if you like, what I do, you can check me out here. Short videos, longer videos. If you like longer videos, check out True Crime Deep Cuts. I've got a tab for that, playlist for that, and you can go watch those, which those are good. Those are like an hour long. Did an interview with a soldier with PTSD and did an episode on Brent Kopacka. So there's some good stuff on there that you may not have seen. And then the interviews, I've got interviews on there. I've got one I did with Catherine Ramsland, who was, of course, Brian Koberger's professor when he was at DeSales. I did an interview. I've done 2 interviews with her. So, but thank you guys, and I'll see you next time, and we'll do this again Tuesday. Don't forget, I'll be on there with the Serial Killer Story Hour doing Mackenzie Shirilla, so it should be a good one. But until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Yeah, I've heard it all before. It's just the outro and I'm out of here. If you did, you wouldn't be loving this sick, weird groove. Thanks for watching, leave a comment to help us get out to more. Smash that like and subscribe before you go. You must be some high achiever to watch this whole thing. Copyright 2025 by Horns High Productions. Yeah.